assembled here, particularly men and women in uniform, CAL FIRE, and of course the National Guard. And you can see folks behind me from the Conservation Corps, Operation Rattlesnake, which is a effort pulling folks off the border, and the National Guard to get up here and do some wildfire, field break, and forest management work. Been doing that over now 2 years. But I want to just first level set and just thank everybody for the opportunity to come back and visit this site. I was here not too many months ago, then Kamala Harris surveying the site a little bit later in September and trying to understand the magnitude of the 5,000 acres later, 856 structures, fourth largest, most devastating. This community has been disproportionately impacted. So I want to just acknowledge that, the intensity, the stress, and the challenge, not only that experience last September, but going through the experience at the same time to go through again. And so to the entire community out here in Fresno County, to all the extraordinary firefighters and the folks on the front lines, just hats off and thank you for your patience, your perseverance, and more importantly, as I travel around and sites and seeing people back in their homes, look, Wade mentioned and previewed a little bit about what we're here to announce. I had put out in January a proposal for the legislature to invest a record amount in our home hardening, our forest health, as well as fuel break and vegetation management efforts, $1 billion. To the legislature's credit and to the leadership of the California legislature, they wanted to move forward more aggressively and draw down $536 million to get moving now, to get that ball rolling and to start those efforts with the urgency this moment requires. And so today we're announcing a deal with the legislative leadership, with the Speaker, Anthony Rendon, and with our pro tem, Tony Atkins, that we have their commitment and we have the confidence in the vote being secured as early as Monday and my signature on Tuesday that will be drawing down $536 million and get these projects moving and start to scale, so we're prepared for this upcoming wildfire season. We also did something a couple weeks ago that got a little bit of attention, but I think deserves to be highlighted again. We put $80,740,000, almost $81 million, to support CAL FIRE, to hire 1,400 firefighters, so we can start surging and preparing for this wildfire season. Well, I use my emergency authority to do that. Again, sense of urgency and recognition of the moment we're in. As Wade said, the hots are getting hotter, the dries something is happening as it relates to the issue of climate, and that's exacerbating conditions and making the challenge of wildfire. So we are of the macro realities, also mindful of the situational realities to do more and do better, not only to address systemic issues of climate change in no state, but also in terms of vegetation management. We've got to do more getting into our forests and do the kind of work that was being done 100, 2, 3, 5,000 years ago that frankly we haven't been doing in the last century. We got to own that. I've been around 25 months, and I'm proud of the fact the first action I took as governor of California was up there in Placer County with Chief Porter, announcing our prioritization, and at that time, record investments in this space. But I can't make up for 50 years. We're trying now to do that. And we recognize that that requires efforts to do prescribed burns. It requires efforts to get mechanical equipment out into the forest to prepare for those prescribed burns. It requires hand crews. It requires more personnel, but it requires intentionality. It requires a plan. And we have a plan. 100 directives are part of our action plan. It requires coordination, it requires collaboration, and we have a strong collaboration. And that's the task force Wade and his team are leading. And that's to connect tribal lands, private lands, state and regional strategies and plans with the U.S. government. We don't want to be a sparring partner with the U.S. Forest Service. And with all due respect, last few years kind of felt like that. A lot of finger pointing, which was great, highly ironic, when 57% of the forests in the state of California are under federal authority and administration, and that they were cutting forest budgets as we were increasing ours to do the work of the federal government. I say love by offering California just 3% of the forested land in the state of California. Those numbers can't be repeated enough, because 9 out of 10 members of the public don't know that, and probably half of them wouldn't even believe that. Just 3% of the land in the state of California is under the direct jurisdiction of the state. But that doesn't mean it's not our responsibility to do more and better, to build partnerships with private, we're on private land here, and with the federal government, right behind me, to your left, right, and behind you. And so that's what this is all about. It's getting rid of those barriers. It's not about finger pointing, not about closed fists, open hands, about collaboration, memorandums of understanding. We signed one with the U.S. Forest Service committing to double our forest management, working together in a collaborative spirit, 1 million acres minimum, and we're going to have to do more than that. But the fact that we have that framework is very exciting. The fact that we have a president that wants to fund the federal efforts is also exciting. And the state of California, legislative leaders, we're doing our part, and that's the announcement today with the state's contribution to those efforts. Yes, we're going to do more C-130s. Yes, we have new Black Hawk helicopters coming in. Yes, we're going to have new heli-attack crews, so you can heroism. Took over, and they flew those helicopters down and saved lives, folks stranded out there that were just looking to run away with their families. Yes, we will have their back as well. More suppression strategies, more prevention strategies, more regional, long-term, medium-term strategies, and a greater sense of urgency than ever in contemporary California history. That's what we're here to highlight. It's what we're here to announce. But let me just say this in closing. We're sober about this. We're mindful. You know, Mother Nature, someone said this once, I think it was Rob Watson, who said Mother Nature is only biology, chemistry, and physics. She bats last, and she bats 1,000. And when you experience what we experienced last world, record-breaking high temperatures in our own backyard, California, 130 degrees in our state, not the Middle East, the state of California. When you experience that, and the experience manifested in 560 wildfires sparking all at the exact same time, even record investments in this space are not enough to deal with the magnitude of that reality. And so this is a strategy of and. It's not about the tyranny of or. With all due respect to those that live in binaries, we don't. Yes, we must deal with the underlying causes of the issues related to climate change, and we are committed to that. And yes, we need to do more on forest management, vegetation management, more prescribed burns, more work to get our forest and fuel breaks and homes hardened and do defensible spaces and prepare and do our best to prevent. And so I'm in that spirit, and I hope that spirit brings not just this community, but this state together across some of these stale differences when it comes to the issues of wildfires that should not divide any of us, because we're all in this one together. And so thank you to Chief Porter. Thank you to U.S. Forest Service. Thank you to Wade and his team. Thank you to all the conservancies out here. Thank you to all the partners, local and private sector partners that have really stepped up. And again, thank you to the California legislature for drawing these dollars down and getting us to a point where we can get these dollars to work.